Okay, welcome everyone. Happy New Year. This first show of the year, and we are have a special guest tonight. So really exciting. So I assume most people are familiar with L'Aventure, but I just a bit of history. We went there with some friends back in 2005.
Wow.
You didn't have your tasting room then.
No.
And I've been a member on and off, I'll admit to it, but I'm a shadow member through sources. And but I've always enjoyed the wine there. I think it's spectacular. And uh, we are so blessed to have you on tonight. I will say, if you have a bottle of Ventura, hold it up. I happen to have one that a friend of mine we acquired 2008 coat to coat. Um, it's drinking very well.
Yeah,
It
so
got it. You can taste a little age on it, but it's really good. So I want to. And what's everybody else have?
Little optimist tonight.
oh, yeah.
Optimist, Tables Creek.
2021 Coda Code.
2020
Yeah,
code to
there you go.
Wow. Ah, yeah, cool. So you're
I
mostly
have
Côte
a,
d'Azur guys.
I have a 2020 sibling I decided to open tonight.
Ah, well, it's a sibling of Côte à Côte.
Is
So
that
you're
is that
you're in
is
the Rhone.
yeah.
Sorry.
So anyway, as you know, Stefan is has a very interesting past with in history with Paso. And I think it was 1998 you opened the winery. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
And Jason and I have wanted to have Stefan on for some time, and I'm so happy that you agreed to join us. So what I'm going to do is hand it off to Jason. We're going to let you tell us a little something about your journey to into wine and into Paso. So kick it off, Jason.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you all for joining tonight. Stephan, thank you for your time. Um, Great excuse for me to break dry January tonight. I didn't make it a week.
You know, yeah.
uh, Before we get started, just a quick story. I don't know, 12, 15 years ago or so, was talking to Justin Baldwin in Orange County, High Times in Costa Mesa, and he told me his favorite winery was L'Aventure.
Wow.
Um, so my next trip up, I went and tasted and joined, and been a happy member ever since. So super excited to have you on. I think your story is become pretty popular, but we're going to approach it tonight as if we know nothing about it because there may be plenty of people on here that don't know. And as Mike mentioned, we'll repost this for everybody to watch. So um, you'll have some incredible experience to share with us. That, as Mike mentioned, we've been doing this for I don't know, going on 3 years, I think.
Right.
Um, and nobody else has been able to talk to us about making wine both in France and in the US. So that, among many other reasons, looking forward to hearing your story and your perspective, and thanking you for your contributions to a region that is so meaningful to all of us. Uh, I guess let's just kick it off there with that history. Let me ask you first, do you remember a time, because I think you've been making wine for most of your life, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember a time prior to making wine, what you were doing, what you were enjoying that didn't have anything to do with wine?
Okay, so let's start by that because somewhere. So I will, to be honest, I will say I started to drink wine kind of late, post teenager. Because, well, I will say, like most of the people, before to have a guide or someone or a context, we which put the wine in value. it's a beverage like another one. And I will say, naturally, it's not something very sexy, kind of, when you drink for the first time. And I would say, like most of the people who start to drink wine, I started, it's like a natural cycle. You start by white wine, especially, kind of sweet, Sauterne, Barsac, which are easier to drink. After you move to more aromatic white wine, Sauvignon, well, very juicy. And after, when you move to red, you move also to light reds like Beaujolais, Burgundy. After you move to Bordeaux, etc., etc. So I don't know about you guys, but somewhere, and in France, wine, it's kind of something natural. And most of what I will tell you, especially about my story, you have to go back more or less 45 years ago, because I'm not so young anymore. And so 45 years ago, I will say in America, wine was more exotic, if you see what I mean. When in France, it was kind of, you're born with that. It's part of the context, the cultural context in the day-to-day. Some Sunday when you have family, big lunch, we start at 11:30 and finish at 5 p.m. Wine, it's something natural. Even you don't drink it, but you see your parents, your grandparents drinking wine. But so for me, it's something which was around me, but the wine by itself was not really what pushed me to become a vigneron. And just to because maybe I will use this word a lot of time tonight. So I use vigneron because I think that mean in French that it's a person who is a grower and the winemaker. And in English, you don't have this word. Most of the time we speak about the winemaker or the grower. And in the context of L'Aventure, vigneron make all the sense, because for me, well, maybe I could be just a winemaker, but I think what I love and what kept me so long in this business, because I'm still passionate, it's because somewhere I was doing everything from the plantation to the bottling. If I was just a grower, I think I will be happy, because it's the part I love maybe the most in my whole story. But I could be frustrated because you sell your fruit to someone who will make shitty wine with that, so it can be a frustration. Or if I was a winemaker, I will be frustrated too, because I will have not the control of the grape. And the grape is 80% of the whole story. When you drink a good wine,
Losing your audio a little
not
bit, Stephan.
just because the winemaker, girl or boy, is fruit, you can make from shitty, you can make mediocre good, but never you can make a great wine. Okay. At the opposite, you give great fruit to a mediocre winemaker, the wine will be good. So for me, the growing side is the most important, because it's somewhere, it's a material. And never forget that red wine process to make red wine, it's a maceration, extraction from the fruit. So about the color, about the tannin, about the concentration, the density, and everything. So if somewhere you have not enough or you have deficiency in the berries, never you will just extract what the fruit is offering to you. So it's not very sophisticated. It's very basic, but that works like that. People in general think that winemaker are kind of artists, but no, it's we are good artisan, and the idea is to try to take the most, not too much, enough, but to take the best from the fruit. So that for me is the most important.
So there is no before wine for you. I mean, that's been your life as far back as you can remember that, it sounds like.
Yeah. Mhm. And
And
so to go back to the, yeah, go.
and was were you born into it? I mean, were your parents doing it? Did you have other family in the
Yeah.
wine business?
No, no, I'm a kind of how you could call that alien, you know, when it's a kind of science fiction coming from nowhere. So I'm a little bit that kind of, you know, because to go back to the origin of how I became a vigneron, it's initially, you know, I'm French, but initially I'm from not Paris downtown, but I'm from Paris area. And so somewhere that doesn't motivate you to become a farmer. My parents were not at all in the agricultural world, more in the commercial stuff. In my family, in general, nobody was a farmer. So I think that I never been, first of all, a city boy. As soon as I was a post-teenager, I wanted to quit school and find a job. But I wanted to be more in the agriculture because, like I said, I was not a city boy. And my parents never believed because I had nobody around me or no roots in this world. So it was hard when you're living in Paris and you have your kids, 16 years old, who is telling you, dad or mom, I want to be a farmer. They were watching me and they were telling me, are you sure? Because it will be complicated, you know? And I say, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't know if the first motivation was be in the country for sure. Maybe at this time it was not wine. It was maybe because I wanted to drive a huge tractor. Maybe you follow me. You know,
Yeah.
to drive a big tractor. And finally, you know, after my graduation, they finally understood that it was really something I wanted to do for real. And I told you that my dad was not really at all in the farming or in this world, but he was a wine geek. He liked very much wine in general. And when somewhere he finally got the idea that his son will be never a businessman, he said, okay, so if you want to become a farmer, if I have maybe one advice to give you, it's, I think, because, you know, agriculture, it's a huge world, you know, they can go to grow trees, oyster, everything.
Right.
And he said, I think that wine maybe will be more interesting than to grow cereals or stuff like that, you know.
And you're
And
approximately how old at the time of this conversation?
that I was post graduation, so 18 years old.
And how did you feel about that? Were you
So
excited
I
about the
said,
idea of wine?
yeah. So I started to think about it, and I said yes because very fast I understood that, like I was telling you at the beginning, you know, I like the idea of making wine to be a vigneron because we have a chance. So it's a big challenge, but we have a chance to start from the beginning, and go up to the finished product, including even the packaging, the label, and everything. So I'm not talking about the marketing and the commercial side because it's my less favorite part of the, even it's the most important, but it's my less, it's the one and Chloe is doing that very well for me, so I love it. But somewhere, yeah, I like the idea that you find a spot, hoping it will be a great terroir, and you plant your vine, you take care of your packaging who match with your personality. You know, it's like if I was a farmer growing cereals, I will grow cereals, and the fantasy kind of will be to I grow the cereals, I make the how you call that in English, farine. You know, the powder we use to make bread, the flour.
Wheat flour.
So from the cereals, which is a raw material like the grapes, you make the flour, and from the flour you make the bread. And I sell the bread direct to my customer. You know, I think if I was a more cereal farmer, well, it's a fantasy, but more or less it's what I would like to do. And somewhere to be a vigneron that offer this kind of stuff, you know. And so at the end, when I think I got the whole spectrum to make more, to be in the farming, but more specifically in the wine industry, I started to look at for some school, and that was the beginning of the challenge. Because before that, you know, in France, since ninth grade, kind of, you start to have kind of orientation. And when I graduated, I was in the branch, more or less, where all the bad students are going. It's kind of economical, history, geography stuff. And so in France, when you graduate, the name of the diploma is bac. When you have a bac B, what I had, it's very hard to have access to, I don't know, job, to learn job who have nothing to do with what you got. And so and on the top of that, I was from Paris. And I know nobody in my family who had some farming roots. Oh. So it's a little bit like I moved to Paso Robles 25 years ago, you know, it was a kind of a big challenge. And so I contacted a lot of viticulture role and oenological school to learn, but everybody told me, yes, you look motivated, but you don't have the good orientation to do that. And on the top of that, it was in the 70s, you know, after the end of 60s with the hippies movement. And most of the city guy moved to lose themselves in the country and to smoke hash or weed. And most of the country guys were tired about those fucking Parisians who are coming in their place with a lot of dreams, but doing nothing, kind of. So I had this kind of, it's like, I said, it's like if I was a sandwich man, you know, with a big board on the front, Parisian on the front, Parisian on the back. And everybody was telling me we don't need a dreamer more at school or in the country. So it was very, very difficult for me to have access to a viticultural school. And finally, you know, a little bit like in the kitchen world, I started by the little door, meaning that like I could not go right away to a school. I started to make some internship in some different area, and it was not easy. And after more or less 2 years of slavery intern, I went back to some school. And so look at, I'm Parisian, okay, but I'm super motivated. Please let me make your program. And so finally, I did my school in Burgundy, in Mâcon. Mâcon, it's south of Beaune, kind of. 50 years ago, it was really the middle, 45 years ago, it was really the middle of nowhere. And finally, I got a diploma of viticulture and oenology. Voilà. So that's the origin of how I started in this world.
So your degree in Burgundy, and then you're off to Bordeaux from there to start
Yeah,
working in the business, right?
yeah, yeah. But that's another story. But it was opportunity, you know. It was like today. Well, first of all, Burgundy, it's a very small appellation.
Yeah.
Even today, I'm not a big Pinot fan. Even I love Top Burgundy, you know, but it's not my first choice. But at this time, already, Burgundy was, as it was a very small area, price of the land were already very expensive. And I'm talking about 40 years ago. And you could find eventually a 1 acre, half acre, but never you could have the acreage to start a business from scratch. And when you start at this time, when after my diploma, I was 24, I was very motivated and passionate, but I was very young and very poor. So somewhere you had the combination of when you're not from Burgundy, even today, you know, the people who are from Burgundy, it's very difficult for them to start a new challenge, a new property, because on the top of that, you have some rich investor who purchased everything is available. It's purchased by some very rich institutional, and so the average price went to some crazy price. So that means the local don't have any more access to grow. And so at this time, I think somewhere I could have been finished in the south of France, you know, Languedoc-Roussillon, Corbière, I don't know. But when you're Paris, France, Bordeaux, it's also the big boy, you know. And even you have a lot of differences in Bordeaux. From the first growth to the generic Bordeaux, it's like two different worlds. But you had also more opportunities to eventually start from scratch at some decent price in Bordeaux more than in Burgundy. And Languedoc, at this time, it was a little bit release. I'm not talking about Châteauneuf-du-Pape or Gigondas. I'm speaking about more what was most of the time Languedoc-Roussillon were producing table wines. And somewhere I was naive. I didn't have the experience I have today. Today, I will go straight to Languedoc-Roussillon instead to Bordeaux, you know. But at this time, I was from Paris. Bordeaux was like, you know, you see stars and you say, fuck, when you can write Bordeaux on your label, I think it's better than table wine on a Languedoc wine, you know.
So you start at, I'm going to butcher the name. Was it Courteillac?
Courteillac.
Is
Yeah.
that your
So that was the my first place as owner, slave, bottle washer. And I started, I fell in love like a little bit in Paso. I fell in love to the spot, you know, to the terroir, because again, like I told you at the beginning, the grapes are the most important. But in the grape world, if you have a shitty soil, you will make mediocre. You can make a high-end viticulture. So you can make from mediocre good. Never you will have great fruit. So the terroir is fundamental in the whole concept. And I make it short, but I visited a lot of places in Bordeaux. And somewhere a day, I fell in love to this spot, which was completely abandoned. So the price was very low, but it was not the motivation. It was at the end of a plateau, so a lot of erosion. I see behind you, you have a mountain. So that means it was also
Montserrat?
yeah, okay. it was a part of Bordeaux where you have a lot of limestone because you have different type of soil in Bordeaux. So you had a lot of limestone in this area. And I was really at the end of the plateau. So you had a lot of erosion. So you have more or less no topsoil. And it was lost because like I told you, I'm not a city boy. So, you know, I got the good food, kind of. I fell in love to this spot, but everything, the vineyard was not worked for at least 10, 15 years. So everything was wild. All the wire were rotten, the wood posts were broken, the weeds were over the vines, all the buildings were collapsing. So, you know, it was an adventure already, you know, but I fell in love to this place. I fell in love to a girl too, which is important at this time. It's not my wife of today, but that makes sense also. And a lot of friends came to help me to, at the beginning, I was living, so inside the building, it was not a house, it was a building kind of. I had a tarp under the roof. Every kind of furniture I had was on some wood pallet. You were keeping some plastic boots when you were at your house. So no restroom, you had to go outside. So it was already a big challenge, but I like this kind of adventure, kind of. And so, but the terroir was fantastic. And so I started, that was in 82. And so finally I sold Courteillac in 97 and to move to the new world. But I spent beautiful days in this area. And even I was just in a generic Bordeaux because the quality of the terroir, I was selling my wine 3 times the price of local generic Bordeaux wines, sometimes more expensive even than generic Saint-Emilion, etc., etc.
The Fleur Cardinal?
Fleur Cardinal, yeah. So that it's came after. So somewhere, because the story is super long, so and I don't want to go too much back, but when somewhere because between my diploma at viticulture school in Burgundy and when I moved to Courteillac, so it was 78 kind of, 79 and Courteillac 82, so 3 years. With 2 of my best friends, we moved to French Polynesia.
Oh, wow.
And the friend with who I left is still living in the island where we end up somewhere. So
Wow.
I could be like him, you know. And my parents were a little bit desesperated to have me because from France, French Polynesia, it's exactly at the half of the earth. And they built a kind of trap, you know. So they told me also they wanted to leave Paris. And because, like I told you, my dad was a wine gig, and he said, yeah, and your mom is tired about the city. She wants to live in the country. And so we're thinking eventually to move to Bordeaux to buy something. And you're the specialist. So if you want, we pay you a ticket, a plane ticket, and you come back to France. We show you what we selected, and you will tell us which one you think is the best. And I said, yeah, a free ticket to go back to France, you know, why not? So I came back. They were lucky because, like I told you before, I fell in love to a girl, which was important. Maybe without this girl, I will have went back to Tahiti. But and they, in the package of the property they selected for them, you had Courteillac. But it was not for them. Courteillac, they knew me and they knew that this kind of fucking place completely destroyed could be, I could fall in love to that. And I think they were right because finally I fell in love to Courteillac. I never went back to French Polynesia. But somewhere on their side, we visited few property and one I said, wow, I think this one has a great potential what was Fleur Cardinal. And finally, you know, my parents moved maybe to Bordeaux, also to Fleur Cardinal, maybe 4 or 5 years after me. Me, I was already for 3 or 4 years in working every day like a slave, rebuilding walls, fixing the roof, etc., etc. And finally, they left Paris and they moved to Saint-Émilion 4 years after me.
So
But
what
it was
triggered
not my property. That was their story. After I was supporting them, I was consulting them, etc. But my own baby was Courteillac.
Got it. So what triggered the initial exploration of coming to the U.S.?
Alors, bon, like I said, you know, I spent 17 beautiful years in Bordeaux, but as a passionate vigneron, somewhere, you know, in Bordeaux, we have, or in France, we have what we call appellation contrôlée. And when you're in Bordeaux, you do Bordeaux, you know, you drink Bordeaux, you date Bordeaux girls, you do everything Bordeaux, you know, when you're Burgundy, you do everything Burgundy. So it's, and after a while, you know, because I was not also, I was kind of, I told you, I was a alien, kind of, you know, I was from Paris, so I was a free spirit, a free electron, even in Bordeaux, I was not from Bordeaux, you know. So I was more open than the local people. And so when I had the opportunity to meet other vignerons from other French area, I was tasting, we were talking, and every time, you know, we end up to the conclusion to say, fuck, you know, it's frustrating because I tasted in Châteauneuf-du-Pape some great Grenache or great Syrah, at least sometime, you know, in some area or from wine, some grapes were not able to grow in Paso because of the climate, but some other one, and that was before the global warming, but already. So I had already this kind of fantasy to say, I'm tired to repeat the same recipe every year with all those regulations, because appellation mean kind of everything is not allowed, is forbidden. So after you have the vintage, we create some new approach. But at the end, you know, when you deal with Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, it's kind of boring. And so after that, so I was happy, huh? I'm not complaining. But when I was more established in Bordeaux, I had the opportunity to travel in Lebanon, in South Africa, more in south of France, in Spain a little bit. And every time after those trips, when I was coming back, you see me? Hello?
Yeah, no, we can still see you.
Okay,
Yeah.
because now I have 18 Chateau Fleur Cardinal. Okay, but so very good. Huh? You should try that. And the price is super reasonable. Anyway, yeah, every time I was back from those experience with vigneron from Lebanon, from South Africa, we were talking. I was back in my appellation and I was kind of frustrated, you know. And slowly, the idea to say, fuck Bordeaux, I escape. And we start something from scratch, like I did at Courteillac, because it was a big adventure already. The idea grew like a seed, you know, and the idea grew. On the top of that, my wife was actual wife because just for your people, I'm with the same wife now since 85, 40 years. My wife was telling me, I like Courteillac, I like our friend, but I'm tired a little bit about Bordeaux, the mentality of the people that make 17 years we're here, blah, blah, blah. So she was kind of even more motivated than me to make the move because it was a big move. And slowly the idea became bigger and bigger. And a day we say, okay, allez, let's do it. But it was a big challenge because at this time, Chloe, the youngest, was 7 years old. Julian, the chef in Paso, was 11. And the oldest was 14. So 14, when you tell him we're moving to America, he was not very motivated. But somewhere, and somewhere, finally, everybody was okay to make the move. After the question was, where are we going,
So
The idea,
before any exploratory trips, you just made the decision you were going to go.
kind of, because it was kind of homework, because you had two sides in the initial decision. You had the professional aspect and you have the family aspect, And so my wife is a four-wheel drive good girl, but she told me, especially with the age of our kids, because she knew me, don't bring me in Chile at 2,000 meters altitude in a small village where we have no school, because it's more or less where I could go. So you had this family side where the oldest kid was 14. So it's we needed to have this kind of school, kind of society aspect of for my family. Also, and that's very, very important, what I'm telling you, that was so in 96, 97, Chile, so it's more or less 30 years ago. Chile, Argentina, South Africa were not recognized. They were not on a map, They were making some good wine, but they were more in the category very good for the price. And Chile, Argentinian wine became on a map, I would say, just 15, 20 years ago. So you had also the business commercial side of the decision. South Africa, I did a trip, but I really love the area. And it was a microclimate, Good Hope, south of South Africa. It's a little bit the same climate than Paso Robles, because you have the South Pole, so the water is super cold. So it's a Mediterranean climate, kind of. I got some good connection, but it was before Mandela, so meaning it was still the apartheid. So you don't go in a place with 3 kids, start buy a land when you can have a revolution and they cut you with a machete, So, and you had the embargo. So that means you could not export your wine too. So you had all those parameters depending on the area. Australia could be an option, but I don't know why. I never been attracted by Australia. South America, like I told you, was a great potential, but it was at this time very challenging because not really recognized for what it is today. And so logically, somewhere I will say, California became the idea.
So then it's exploration throughout California, starting in Napa, right?
Yes, because when you're a French guy 40 years ago, the only area which was known at this time, 30 years ago, was Napa, you know. Paso was like a fetus, was the beginning of the story. Sonoma Valley was already known. And so, yeah, I did few trips in Napa, but to be honest, I sold my little generic Bordeaux property very well. So I thought I was very rich. But when I started to investigate in Napa, I understood very quickly that I was very poor, you know. And as I told you, and that is one of my obsession, you know, if we go back to grapes make good wine, for me, and that was the same in Bordeaux, I prefer to be in a fantastic terroir in a generic Bordeaux than a mediocre, shitty terroir in Saint-Emilion. Because for the long term, if you have not the terroir, you're limited. So on the marketing side, it's easier to start in Saint-Emilion because you have the prestige and the name on the label. But if you have not the terroir, you will be never able to produce a great wine. At the opposite, if you're in a great terroir in a less famous appellation, it's harder at the beginning, but you have the potential a day to produce top wines, you know. And so when we moved to California, first of all, I understood that the price already 30 years ago in Napa were completely crazy. On the top of that, it was before euro. The rate exchange was 10 French francs for one fucking dollar. So that means everything was 10 times more expensive already, you know. But somewhere, because somewhere I was focusing more on the terroirs than a famous place, I've seen some spot in Napa, but the terroir was more to grow salad, vegetables, or corn. So I understood. I say, okay, no, Napa, you forget about it. Sonoma, I've seen some very nice place, but it was already too expensive because somewhere the idea was more to start from scratch, you know, not to buy an existing vineyard where the plantation is bad, the density is bad, the varietals, the grapes planted are bad, etc., etc. So I started to a new page, kind of, you know, a white page where I could start from scratch all my inspiration. And so slowly, you know, real estate, meeting real estate, local real estate people. Paso came in the discussion. So finally, I contacted, now he's dead, but a very nice guy in Paso. And we did one trip with my wife in Paso. So that was in 1997. And everything was for sale in Paso at this time, you know. And we visited, I don't know, it was like a marathon. In 3 days, we visited maybe 60 places, you know. At this time, I didn't know about East, about West, about the Templeton Gaps, the ocean influence. I was more following my instinct, and I have a good one for that. And one of the last place we visited, for the one we went to L'Aventure, you know, already on the dirt road, I had my hair start to stand up like that, you know, and I was excited. And when I arrived, so it was a virgin piece of land, you know, you had nothing at L'Aventure, not even a driveway. It was a raw rolling hills. And when I arrived to what became L'Aventure, this spot, I said, fuck. Already I knew it was. And before to sign, I remember that's a nice, funny story, you know, because when you take an option, you have, I don't remember, 60 days before to finalize or not. So that gives you the time to make a check, to see about the water, etc., etc. But I remember, I knew it was the spot, you know, my sixth sense was telling me that. But on the top of that, even my English today is not very good. I found a way to find a guy with a backhoe. American local guy, I suppose, from east side of Paso, more a cattle cowboy guy, you know. And so he came a day with his backhoe, and I asked him to make holes everywhere on the property, you know. So I'm sure the guy left my place, and when he met his wife the night, he said, I met a guy, a French guy. I heard 20% of what he said to me, and he just asked me to make holes everywhere. So I'm sure I was not in his place, but I'm sure, because when he left and we check him, I could see in his eyes that he didn't really understood what he did for one day. But when I've seen me, you know, 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet deep, the complexity of the soil on all the hills, middle of the slope, top of the slope, etc., I say, fuck, that's my place.
So from
Can
that
can I
moment,
ask a question, Jason?
yeah, of course, Mike.
So,
Fine.
so this is fascinating. You come out from France. You've never been to California before, right?
No.
And you have preteen, teenager, early teen, quite a journey.
Yeah.
You come in the Paso after looking at Napa, whatever. Did you go try any wine anywhere? What were the first places you experienced if you
It's
did that?
funny, yeah. So it was, well, first of all, you know, even in France, you don't drink so much, especially in Bordeaux, New World wine, especially at this time. But when I came to the few weeks or few days, because I had no money, Courteillac was still not sold. So I was really in the middle of two chairs, you know, it was not easy for me. I was not like Tablas Creek with Beaucastel behind. We made a huge survey because they have a lot of money. So that time and the goal, they didn't have to sell Beaucastel to start Tablas Creek, you know. So me, I was in a completely different concept. That's the reason the name came from that, you know. It was a big adventure, a wild one between the keys to end up to Paso 30 years ago. But yeah, about the wine. So it's funny because I will be honest with you guys. When I was tasting American wine in general, it was a little bit excessive, too much, you know, very big, very ripe. So fuck, you know, it's wow. So because like every time you need to recalibrate. Now when I go to Bordeaux, I find the wine a little bit austere, a little bit straight, etc. So anyway, so when I started to when I met this real estate, Paso Robles real estate, between visit for lunch, we went to, you had no restaurant also in Paso. Bistro Laurent was still not here, etc. So we went in a hamburger, steak, cheap place.
They had
And the
they had
guy,
nothing. They had a truck wagon back then, right? No.
no, not even. That was, it's kind of new also, the food trucks.
That's a very American term. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. So I thought you were talking about food truck.
Too
There's
many
not some good
cowboy
food in
movies.
food
Sorry.
truck. But so somewhere this real estate guy for lunch with a hamburger brought, I remember, some wine from Wild Horse. And I tasted that and I said, fuck, it's good, you know, because he was doing some Chardonnay, but some Pinot, some Cabernet. He was doing, because at this time it was also straight varietal wines, you know. The blends were not really on a map at this time. And so after the second one, I like very much. And I don't know how I met him because he was one of the first one I met. It was Gary Eberle. And we had a good connection. Even he could not understand a fucking word of what I was trying to tell him. And he liked me. And so that was in 97. And he said, come to my house. I was at his testing room with a real estate guy. and he said, "Come to my house," and he opened it for me. A 91 was a shitty vineyard, shitty years in Bordeaux, but he opened it for me in his house with a pound, nice house. Eberle Cabernet Reserve 91. And when
What
I
was it again?
tasted this fucking wine, 91 Eberle Cabernet Reserve.
Okay.
Cabernet. Okay, got it.
That was in 97. And 91 was a shitty vintage in Bordeaux, but in California was a good one, but I didn't know me. And so because we started to talk and I said, wow, the wine, oh, a little bit too much, etc., etc. He said, come with me. So he opened this fucking 91. And when I tasted that, oh, I said, wow. So somewhere it was, in general, California wine were too much for me, but I had some coup de cœur too.
Well, Stefan, from that moment where you found that property and had a good instinct about it, what was if you fast forward, what was the moment where you felt validated about that decision? Where you like
I
realized
was
I
what?
made the right choice?
Ah, I will say kind of right away, because like I said, it was a raw piece of land. So when I moved with my family, and by the way, we were with only luggage, a lot of luggage, 2 luggage per person, and it was in a mobile home. Because we started L'Aventure with the whole family. My wife was crying, when I was going back make the fence, because I started to make a fence, and it's a big property, L'Aventure. So that took me forever. And she was alone, no furniture. We had not electricity still in the mobile home, nothing. It was a big challenge for her. Anyway, about the wine, when so when you start from scratch, plantation, it's 3-4 years to have the first crop. After 2 years of maturation in barrels, so that means from the moment you plant and the moment you can sell your first crop, it's more or less 6 years. So
Did you? Oh, sorry. Never mind. No, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, you can.
I was going to say, did you know that the Willow Creek AVA would become what it is
That was
today?
before. Yeah, but that we were not talking about that. At this time, we were more east side versus west side, But if we want,
Right.
we can talk about the district, because I was very involved in this process. But somewhere, to go back to my point, and I think we should speak about that because it's interesting, important. But somewhere, oh fuck, I forgot.
When you felt validated about your decision, was there a first
Yeah.
vintage or?
So yeah, if you about my own estate wine, that take a lot of years. So right away in '98, I took contact. I tried to find some fruit to purchase. I gave my about that. I was also a little bit crazy when I was talking for some local growers, and what I'm telling you now, it's 27 years ago, so you can imagine. You have a French guy who don't speak very well English and say, I would like to buy your fruit, but I don't want to buy per ton, I want to buy per acre. So for example, if you sell at this time 2,000 a ton, and you make 5 tons per acre, it's 10,000 per acre. I give you 10,000, but I want you produce just 2 tons for me, So already they had some problem to. And so doing this kind of having this kind of viticultural approach with local growers, even in '98, I was able to have some nice fruit. And so somewhere after the harvest 98, even it was not the best vintage the last 20 years, but for me coming from Bordeaux, it was I was very happy about 98. And when I tasted a month after the wine from purchased fruit, but with my condition, controlling the yield, etc., I said, wow, that's not my place, but at least Paso has a great potential. And I think that validates somewhere the choice to move to Paso. And after L'Aventure, yes, definitely when I was able to collect because I didn't planted everything in once, I had no money. Because I purchased a place, but you have to build a winery. So the first plantation I did is the one when you arrive on the driveway, on the right. That's Syrah. It's the first one I planted in 98. And I planted maybe 2 acres in 98, 2 in 99, 2 in 2000 after I was close to die, close to the bankruptcy, etc. But somewhere my first estate fruit from L'Aventure, my estate cuvée was my first vintage officially was 21. When I've seen what was in the barrel, I say, fuck, that's beautiful. I use a lot of fuck. Huh? And by the way,
right.
make a little survey. Ask to your people if they understand what I say.
Yeah.
I have a question though. Like
Do you
when you
think they
first,
understand what I say?
Yeah.
All your people?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed it. I'm sorry.
Do you think
Except for
that
Mike.
the people who are listening to me understand?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, no,
They're all giving a thumbs up.
everybody's good.
Okay.
Mostly.
So
Mostly.
when you
He's
first
honest. He's honest. Good job.
well, forget about him. But anyway, no. When you first get there, do you because we kind of as a group of people, 25,000 members, one of the attractions to Paso Robles is a lot of community camaraderie. What I could take from what you had said before, that you kind of were like, you kind of came into a community that wasn't you're French and you come in. So what were some of the first who did you bond if did you bond with anybody in particular that had a particular impact on you?
Yes. Well, first of all, when I started to be here for a year, even 2 years, people heard about me. I heard about nobody, but people heard that you had a crazy French guy doing crazy stuff in Paso Robles. And I think the first one, I think also it's more or less, I don't remember, but you were talking about Justin Baldwin. One of his wine, Isocellus, was number 2 or number 3 on the top 100 wine of the Wine Spectator. More or less, it was maybe in 2000 he got that. I don't know. So I will say we had some opportunity by accident to meet with Justin, and he became not my godfather, but he helped me a lot. And so when I forgot Mike, no, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Jason spoke about Justin, and he said to you that you had a crazy French one who was making a decent wine. That touched me because somewhere Justin was not on the viticultural because it was not really his world, but when I had some issue to sell my wine, etc., he was helping me a lot. Even we were in the different category because he was already bigger than me. But so Justin helped me a lot, and we had good relation. I think we had a mutual respect. After Tablas Creek, I was close to Bob who died now, Jason's father, because somewhere he was kind of Franco, he loved the Perrine family and French in general. So, and I was close also to, he's still the winemaker. I forgot his name.
Sorry.
The British guy from Tablas Creek. Anyway, I met him too, and we became close. So, and in general, because that's, I think, what you wanted to hear from your question. In general, and I will say that's the beauty of America too. So American people are very welcome, and especially in a small community like Paso, everybody at different level, about payment, about doing something for free to help me, etc. I could borrow some equipment, etc., etc. The whole neighbor but community really helped me a lot, because when you go to France, if you're coming from outside and you're good, people are jealous and they will try more to kill you than to help you. In America, the mentality is different, and I think they think that if you're good, if you are successful, it will be good for the whole community. So I
But
try to
Stefan,
give back
don't
to
you
the
find that that's
community.
different even in Paso than, say, Napa?
Yeah, you're right. So I think, yes, what I'm speaking about, it's yes and no, because now I start to be well introduced in Napa. Well, you have the institutional, let them call them rich individual guys or rich people, and they buy a place in Napa. It's like a mistress, kind of. Like if they had a mistress and they go at 7 p.m. Before to go back home to see their mistress, they have their fantasies, they have their property. And those ones are not really involved in the social life of Napa. But when you know Napa, under this kind of general vision we have, you have a lot of exchange between winemaker, growers, they taste their wine, they discuss a little bit like us in Napa. So it's not as social, I will say, because sometimes they have a little diva attitude, but I will say it's not as bad as people think. But definitely in Paso, and that I think makes the charm of Paso, and that's the reason we have a lot of people now, they quit with Napa and they are a big fan of Paso. It's because somewhere we have still this authenticity. You go to a winery, you have a 99% chance to see the winemaker or the owner.
Right.
So it's real, it's very authentic. And I think the visitor feels that, and us, between Eric, John C. Smith, Saxum, etc., we share every information. When I go, he come, he tests my wine, we test his wine, etc. And that's the beauty of the story. And I think that people who are visiting us feel that we have this kind of spirit in Paso, and I hope we will keep it.
I feel like, and I'm looking at this bottle of the '08 Codeco, right? And I'm going, this is a blend. It's beautiful. And I feel that's Paso's magic sauce. That the blends are really kind of set Paso apart from the other regions, because we have in Paso, we have plenty of 100% varietal, but this is what I think most people are attracted to, is when you have master blending going on, and getting the flavor profile you're looking for, the balance. Although I will say This is almost 16%. It's big.
Or
Even now, it's a little big.
I put more water now in my wine, so the alcohol is lower. No, but you have a good point. You have a good point. It's one of the other reason, and it's kind of research, because when I moved, Gary, Justin, everybody was doing straight Syrah, straight Chardonnay, straight Cabernet. So I think that somewhere when I did, and it was very challenging for me, when I started my first Optimus was a blend, which was already new for the area. But on the top of that, it was not a Bordeaux blend. It was a fucking Paso crazy blend, At this time, on my first vintages, I still not have Petit Verdot because you could not find Petit Verdot in Paso. It was a touch of Zinfandel. And so when I made this blend, everybody took me for a crazy French guy,
Yeah.
But me, it was my culture, especially in Bordeaux. We were used to blend different grapes together. And you're right. Somewhere Napa, even they were blending, it was mostly Cabernet Sauvignon. But on the top of that, they were kind of stuck in the Bordeaux mold blend. Paso, we were a new area, so we were kind of free, And I think today that took time because again, 25 years ago, it was not the case. Already Paso was not even on the map, when you were going in Chicago to sell Paso, most of the buyers had no clue about Paso,
No.
Or
Right.
if they heard about it, it was because somewhere it was more with bad pre-ideas, or it was more known for a growing area more than a wine area. So everything we're talking about Paso, it's more the last 15 years. And definitely, I think Paso it's part of Paso signature. It's blends. So Rhone blends, but other blends. We are not prisoner of one kind of Bordeaux blend or.
And I think you may have been the ignition point for that. There's not a bottle. There's very few. I'm not going to say a few. I don't want to get definitive about it, but everybody's got a name on their bottle, and until you look at the back of the label, you don't really know what it is. It's not just Cabernet or Syrah or Zinfandel anymore. And even if it says Zinfandel, it meets the criteria, but it may have elements of other. But true blending like this bottle, which is beautiful, right? That's an art that takes a special approach and a palette to do that. And if you were the ignition point for that, you really impacted Paso Robles for sure.
If you say it, I take it. I'm very happy to hear that. And yeah, I think to have this kind of blend approach, I was a wild blend approach. Yeah, if I'm one of the stone of the Paso evolution. It was definitely more about that, but also my approach of the viticulture. When I started to plant my vine, at this time, even in Napa, you had more or less 900 vines max per acre. Me, I planted at 2,100 vines per acre, etc., etc. So it was a completely different approach. But yes, for me, and blends are super important, super important. You can have, on one side, you have one of the best wine in the world, it's top Burgundy. It's mono grapes, straight grapes. And you have the blends on the other side. So you can have great wine from every possibility. But on the top of that also, as a producer, I think it's even more sexy, exciting to make blends because, and the idea of the blend, and that for your member, it's very important to mention that it's, at least at my level, with my philosophy, the goal is not to duplicate the same wine every year. It's to try to find the best expression and the best wine for the vintage, which is completely different. So yes, côte à côte, it's always GSM blend. Estate cuvée, it's always Grenache, Syrah, Petit Verdot. Cabernet, Syrah, Cabernet, Petit
That's
Verdot.
right.
But the percentage every year change. Every year, I try multiple combination before to pick what I think is not the best, it's the most representative wine for the vintage. Because, and that's another side that a lot of European people, old world people don't know, it's in California, we have no less bad vintage, but we have the vintage effect. 21 versus 22, it's two different worlds, etc., etc. 91, no, I was not in Bordeaux. When we frost, it was I think 2004. No, 2004 was very sunny. Anyway, you have some big differences between vintages because of climate, and at the end that give completely different fruit. And I think that to be a good vigneron, that's my philosophy. And when I talk with young local winemaker, I try to tell them that the goal is not you're happy about one vintage. The goal is not to duplicate that because the fruit the next year will be completely different. And they have to put themselves in question every year. And that makes the beauty of our job. If not, it will be boring. If you apply the same recipe every year, after a while, it's boring.
So if Jason will indulge me, I got one more, Jason.
Of course.
You start to blend, and this is in early 2000 or late 90s, early 2000. Did you get a bit of eye rolling there in Paso Robles? Where the community was kind of going like, "What's this guy doing?" It's not
Yes.
traditional.
At this time, I didn't know because I'm not a very social person. I'm not like Eric Jensen, who you put, Eric Jensen.
Yeah.
You put Eric Jensen in a bar. After 20 minutes, he know everything about everybody.
Yeah.
I will need 6 months to have the same result. So I was living like a wild bear, kind of, and maybe local who tasted my wine say, no, finally, what the crazy French guy is doing is not too bad. No, after I think somewhere also the first nice score I got from Parker help also, because in 2004 I got a 98, which in Paso never happened for my estate cuvée 2004. And even I was not looking for that, but somewhere when you have it, it's a plus, etc., etc. So I think it was a combination of me making my job, meeting people accidentally, and with my personality, and because again, the language was not easy for me. And in Paso, I think everybody know me, and me, I know nobody, kind of. So I know after 27 years, but again, I'm not a kind of person who try to be known, etc. So honestly, yeah, maybe people were thinking that, but at this time I didn't know.
Well, two questions out of that. One, and I'm not saying this is important, but how many 100-point scores have you received now?
Uh,
Not that you're counting.
I need to count. I think I got for her. That was my first one. For her, 40.
For her is great. Yeah.
14, and the 14. because I got a lot of 99 too, but 100.14. After I got, I think in 18, Estate Cuvée got 100. I think in 19, Côte à Côte on Estate Cuvée got again 100. So maybe it's four, I would say 4, 5, which
I
is
think it's more
in
than that.
20 plus year, it's above my
It
expectation.
feels like more than that. It feels like Estate Cuvée has gotten four alone, um, but what to the point of some of the people that you've met, as a result of the success you've had, is there anybody that you've met that you're surprised that as a youngster you never thought you would meet?
Kind of, yes, yeah. Honestly, what I'm living today, it's above my best, not expectation, best fantasy. So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, honestly, and that is thank you, America, because I'm used to say to local people as to my French friends, at the same level of competency, work, knowledge, motivation, passion, what you can realize in America will never happen
Sure.
in Europe. So yes, for me, yeah, sometimes I need to pinch myself to realize what I was able to achieve in only 27 years, because my friend in France in the wine business, sometimes there's the third, the fifth, the 10th, the 13th generation. And me in 25 years, I was able to, it's a good example. I was able to build some crazy underground cave, and every time I'm walking inside, I say, fuck, I'm dreaming, and so yes, it's
Any names
impressive.
you're
I impress myself.
com-
Not, I don't want to impress the other people. I don't want to show off. But when I say that, it's because yes, it's like a fantasy. It's even above my fantasy. Never I thought it will be like that. I wanted just to live a nice adventure, to have a foot on both culture, because me, I was a big fan of America with the pioneer, the Western movie, the conquest of the West. And so I'm used to say that if I move to America also, we spoke about the family, we spoke about the opportunities, but I always say to myself, like a frustration, I should have born more a century and a half ago, and to be more a cowboy with my pistol, and I'm going faster than you, you're dead. And, these pioneers guys, me, it was my fantasy for me.
so anybody that stands out to you as the person one of the people you were most surprised to meet?
What you mean by that? Sorry.
So just in the success you've had, the access you've had, the people that you have met as a result, is there anybody that was most surprising to you? You
Uh, no, it's a lot of people, and again, even in Napa today, this success made me, when I go to Napa, I don't see sometimes even the owner, I don't care. I go to see the production manager or the winemaker, and we go in the cave, we go in the winery, we taste the wine straight to the barrels, and we exchange ideas. So yeah, I think the success helped me to have access to, from Sine Qua Non to some cult wine in Napa. Also, especially, with the, now it's a little bit different, but at the gold age of the Hospice du Rhône,
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to meet the cream of some Châteauneuf-du-Pape producer, but also from producer from Santa Barbara, from everywhere. And like I was kind of established already as L'Aventure in Paso, they were coming to me, we could talk together. So yeah, that helped me also to connect with more people for sure. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, Stefan, you're being super gracious with your time. I want to, if you're okay with it, I want to ask you a little bit about some of your wines specifically. Um, and and to give a little bit of kind of my personal appreciation for your wine club and some of the wine club exclusives that you do, and just how extraordinary they are. And I'm fascinated, like recently. So I want to talk a little bit about a couple of the collaborations. One, the one you do with Vice Versa. It's one of my all-time favorite wines, by the way.
Mhm.
Uh, Les Cousins. You can say it the proper way. Uh, but I love that wine. And I remember, from the time you started that, I was kind of fascinated about just the logistics of how you're getting the fruit. I
Yeah.
don't know if you're bringing
So,
it from
yeah.
there to here or here to there.
No, no, sure. And I told you from the beginning, I'm not a marketing, a business guy. I'm a vigneron. So normally, if I do this kind of unique cuvée, it's not bullshit. It's not a marketing bullshit. It's really when I did for her, Chloé, Inspiration, sometimes just for 1 year because I have a fucking great Grenache. I say, okay, let's do that. I did a day, it was a late harvest, a late vintage. I have a lot of Syrah who was very spicy, like not California Syrah, like more Rhone Syrah. I call that épicé, spicy. Anyway, so everything I do is production driven. But to go back to Vice Versa, I'm happy to speak a little bit about this experience. And it's not a marketing bullshit stuff. First of all, it's I don't know if you know the owner of Vice Versa. He's a guy from Quebec,
Patrice.
Patrice Breton, and we fell in love, kind of, during a party in Paso. At the end of the night, we were kissing together, kind of, with him with his special Canadian accent, and so it's first a connection. And we became friends right away. It's rare for me, but with him, it was kind of an exception. So after he came back, and the second time we met, after half case of wine together, so we were very happy. He told me, Stephan, with his Quebec accent, he says, Stephan, I have a fucking idea, and I have already the name, etc. So I said, oh, yeah, okay, and what it is? We should make a cuvée together. And so I take the best of my Cabernet from Napa because he's buying fruit from the best vineyard in Napa. You take the best, we do everything 50-50 because like that it's fair, easy also to pay back the invoice and everything. And I have already a fucking name. We will call that Les Cousins. Because Les Cousins, it's a little bit, it's the same word in English, It's so Napa, Paso, we are cousins, kind of, because we are making wine in two different places. Cousin, because he's from Quebec, Canada, and French, he speak French, and they are kind of cousins from France. So the name was perfect, kind of. And so the first vintage, I think, was 2008 because the idea is only to make the best. If the vintage is not good enough in Napa or in Paso, we don't do it. So again, it's quality. It's not a marketing bullshit. We do only 4 barrels. So that means it's 2 barrels from his wine, 2 barrels from my wine. And most of the time, sometimes at the beginning, he was coming. So with all the sample of all the different vineyard he purchased, but somewhere the last 2 vintage, I take my truck, I have my 2 barrels in the bed. I drive to Napa. So now he has his own cave winery. So I can drop that directly to his place. Before he was custom in a big places, so it was kind of anonymous. Now my barrels go with him, with his barrels, and it's super exciting because so I sleep at his place, and he collected 2 bottles of each vineyard. He purchased the fruit, so it's only Georgia 5. Dr. Crane, Baker Fur, all the best, Hebrew. And so, first of all, we test, because me, I'm always scared, you know. So me, it's easy. I bring a sample of my best Cabernet blend, the one I put straight in barrel, so I use for my estate cuvée. And so I bring my samples, and we make a first to start, we do a blind test. So we test every different vineyard from Napa and mine in the middle. I don't know. So I'm always scared because somewhere, like I told you, you know, you buy from the best vineyard in Napa. And so most of the time, you know, I end up in the top 3. So I say, not too bad. Good job, Nini. That's my nickname, Nini. And so when somewhere we did that, we take notes about the characteristic of each wine. However, because you have one L'Aventure and sometimes 6 Napa wine, we take notes of everything. And like I do somewhere, I introduce him to my process. When, as I do for my own wine at L'Aventure, so we take notes of all individual with a blind. We don't want to be influenced by the origin of the wine. And we take note of every wine with the characteristic. And after we discuss together, we say, this one I think will be complementary. So after it's not blind anymore. So we know that somewhere 50% will be L'Aventure, however. So that's the reason I'm always scared to be sure the level of L'Aventure is as good as possible. And after we say, okay, on the 50% we have available for you, let's try this, let's try that. And we do at least between 5, 6 different combinations, and we retest blind. And we pick the best, and the best become Les Cousins.
And it's a spectacular wine. And now, so I just I tried one a little bit early, but I got some of the Les du Monde. How do you say that one?
Demoiselle, the misses. Demoiselle.
No, 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 no. Not that one.
Ah.
Les du Monde.
Les deux mondes. Les
That.
deux mondes, the two
Thank you.
worlds.
Yes. Yes. How do you pull that off logistically? How do you get
For that, it was a long process. And logistically, it was definitely because I have not a boat to bring, and it was bigger. It was 700 liters, not just 2 barrels.
and
And
let's
the wine was coming
and
from
Stefan,
Bordeaux.
for everybody that doesn't know about that wine, can you just
Yeah.
tell what that wine is real quick?
So the two words, because les deux mondes, because it's again 50% of L'Aventure, so a wine or a grape. In this case, it was more a grape of L'Aventure and a blend coming from Bordeaux. So that became because my new partner are from Champagne, but they have some property in Bordeaux, on the left bank and on the right bank, so Saint-Émilion and Médoc. And every year the winemaker was coming at L'Aventure, and we are talking about his vintage. And a day he said, it will be great. Maybe we can do something. It will be complementary, etc. So what we did, and he was coming in March. So a year he came for this wine because we did only once. He came with a lot of samples of different vineyards from Bordeaux, number one, different grapes. So you had sample from Cabernet Sauvignon, from left bank. You had some Cabernet Franc from close to Saint-Émilion. You had some Merlot from Saint-Émilion. You had some this, etc. So he had, I don't know, maybe 10 different straight varietal from different property. After we said we tested everything he brought just to test, to have an idea of more or less the vintage, but also the wine. So after number one, we tried to find, okay, it's mostly Bordeaux grapes. So let's bring maybe more from the New World Syrah, that to put Cabernet with some Bordeaux Cabernet. It was not very original, kind of. So to challenge, the idea was more to put Syrah with this Bordeaux varietal. And after that, we tried to make with the back idea that at the end it will be blended with some Syrah from L'Aventure. We tried to do some different blend with all the materials he brought. And so we tried some with mostly Merlot, some with mostly Cabernet Franc, some with mostly Cabernet Sauvignon, etc., etc. So we ended up maybe with 5-6 blend. And after we tried 50-50 of each blend with my Syrah. And my Syrah was not a blend of Syrah. We tried also to pick straight 1 or 2 blocks of my Syrah to try to be the most complementary, kind of, because again, it's not a bullshit blah 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 marketing blend. We wanted really to make something real, and so like always, blind test, final blind test, and we picked the one we thought was the most, the better, or the one we give you pleasure. Not maybe in this case it was maybe not the most powerful or the most, we are not looking for a score, you know, we are just looking for what could be the best blend who shows the best integration between the two worlds.
And so once you establish the blend, then does the ship the juice over here?
The logistic, yes.
Yeah.
That was crazy. So
Yeah.
when we add the blend, Bordeaux blend, we and that dictates the volume of the wine. So the winemaker went back to Bordeaux, investigate to find the smallest stainless tank we could find. So it was 700 liters. So in gallons, so let's say 100 gallons. It was more or less 200 gallons. Okay, that was the smallest stainless tank, a very cute, sexy tank. So he said, Stephan, I found that, the cost is that. He did the blend in Bordeaux, respectful of the percentage of everything. He fills the tank with this blend. We built a wood case around this tank, and we flew that by plane to Paso. And when I got the wine, I blended with my Syrah, and we re-racked them in some barrels with a percentage of new oak, 1 year old, 2 years old.
Wow. Delicious wine, by the way.
What a project. What a project.
I know we've gone way long.
Yeah,
Mike, I'll turn it over to you if you want to open. I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
we
have we're along. If you're okay, Stephan, I just have a couple comments. First of all, first time I visited your place, I stood outside the tasting room, which was the production facility and the side area. That is one of the most beautiful, best pictures I have on my collection, is that vineyard view. I've always loved that valley. What are you looking west? Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
You look northeast, kind of.
East. Wait a minute.
From the tasting room, it's north.
I'm all screwed up when you drive back there in the Well,
Yeah,
you're way back there off
the view is nice. The view
you're
is
on Anderson Road or something, right? So, anyways.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love that. And number two is I don't know what you did to Guillaume. You really messed him up, but
he was good.
No, Guillaume is one of my favorite winemakers up there. He's fantastic guy, and I love.
Guillaume is my spiritual son, kind of. You know?
Yes.
I understand that. Yeah.
And also that.
And Arnaud knows me.
My daughter married Guillaume's brother. So
no, we know. No, I know them all. No, they're great people. Now, Guillaume is superior.
He's passionate like me, you know. He's
I meant that facetiously that you screwed him up now. No, he's great. Um, anyways, what we want to do is open it up to those people that are left. If you have any questions, raise your hand and I'll open up your mic and go ahead and ask them.
everything.
Go ahead, Raj.
Anything you want.
Okay. Hi.
Hello.
I've got 3 questions. 2 I hope are simple. 1 I hope is a little bit more thought. But one question, when you are not drinking wine, what do you like to drink? 2, at what point after you came to Paso did you realize that from Paso outsider, you have become Paso insider? And 3, what are your thoughts on the term French Mafia?
Well, for the
Good
question
question.
number 1, somewhere, you know, I was like an old teenager. I was drinking stuff to make me drunk, you know. So, however, the product inside, I was looking for the effect. So that's number 1, you know. So it was not really wine. It was most of the time some stronger stuff. Number 2, we spoke a little bit about that, you know. I will say to become an insider, it's more, I will say, with time, because again, I'm not. Sometimes I go to Paso once every 2 weeks. And at this time in Paso was dead, you know, at 8 p.m. Restaurant, you could not even go to McPhee in Templeton, or everything was closed. So I would say I became part of Paso more after, well, I don't know, you should ask that to other people, kind of. But my impression, it's more after, you know, kind of maybe 10 years. And I don't know from where it came, but the last 5 years, I got a kind of crazy recognition. It was kind of embarrassing, kind of, you know. So it was gradually.
But I might add that only after about 5 or 6 years you were here producing wine. You were on the radar.
Maybe.
Because a friend of ours who said, "No, I've read L'Aventure. This is a place you got to go to."
Yeah.
And you'd only been producing for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up there. So
okay.
No, you were on the radar early. So
well, maybe I'm too modest. Yeah. And last was
the term French Mafia.
French Mafia. I like it, kind of, you know. Me, I like it because, well, the article was well written too. And somewhere, you know, after I've been a kind of middle of nowhere in Paso Robles in beginning of the 2000. Even the community was super nice with me. Today, to have Guillaume, Arnaud, Roger, and Chloe, who is now is in charge of L'Aventure, and she's herself, she's not anymore the daughter of Stephan. So for me, it was like I'm proud, to be honest. It's a kind of accomplishment, especially after 25 years. Chloe is the second generation. So, and I think people, when they use it, it's not bad. It's more for fun. And so, yeah, I'm kind of proud of, not because we're French. It's just the fact that, and that's the beauty of America again. You make room for every good people who arrive in your country. You make room for them, and they can show their potential.
It's definitely a term of endearment.
Yeah.
So,
To the Godfather too, I believe.
Yes.
I like that. I like that. But that never I will say it myself. But
Well,
when people say it for me, I love it. Yes.
he's definitely the OG.
Yeah. Though Stefan, I hear about this nickname, the Maverick, too. Have you heard this?
Like that's a second.
No? Can you hear me?
That's
Yeah.
for you, Stefan.
Stefan, I've heard about a nickname for you called the Maverick. Have you heard that?
The Maverick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's maybe too much. You know me, I'm a kind of low profile. So I have already a nickname. I call myself Nini. So
Nini.
that's
See
my
it on your
name.
screen.
My grandkids call me like that.
Beanie.
And now all my closest friends in Paso, they call me Nini. They don't call me
Nini.
anymore.
What is there a meaning behind that? Or
No, it's Nini, like the phonetic, you know. No, you have no. It's I call myself like that, and so now people got it. My grandkids got it. Everybody call me Nini, and I'm very happy about that.
Okay.
Now, you know, sometimes I can see the young winemaker, especially now with Teen City, you know, which is more or less the nursery of Paso. When I go to see them or we have the opportunity to meet together, I can see in their eyes that they are kind of impressed. But very quick, you know, we talk about wine or winemaking or technique or this or that. And I'm very happy to share my knowledge because somewhere what I got when I came, some help, more better wine we will have in Paso, better it is for everybody, you know.
So, do you ever see one day that, well, things are moving on Binôme side, new vineyard, but do you see a collaboration between the three wineries, something special someday?
Yeah, we do some events collaboration, but yes, no, why not? I will say it's funny. I'm honest. We never thought about that, and maybe a day, yeah, we could make a good special cuvée with 3 or 4 wine, but maybe it's even they do very nice one at Binôme today, but I think they will have a new accomplishment with their beautiful vineyard they planted 2 years ago. And so when you will have some estate Binôme, definitely that will be a great idea to make a French mafia blend.
Nice. Yeah.
And you've already got the
That'd be
name
great.
for it.
Anybody else?
That's too
Anybody
much. I
else?
don't know if it's a good commercial name.
Anybody else have any questions? Laura? No?
Stefan,
Everybody sleeping?
I just want to personally thank you again too. I mean, for what you've done, certainly for Paso, for the region, for the wine that you make that I absolutely love, for membership that I wouldn't let go of.
Thank you.
And not only you make great wine, but honestly, your team has just always been fantastic. I mean,
For me, it's
exceptional experience.
I'm happy. It's very important for me, and I'm happy to hear that because, you know, most of the time you speak just about the winemaker or the owner, but without a good team, you cannot be successful.
Yeah.
So for me, it's super important. And to have also the right attitude to make them, they are part of the success, but even more than that, they are part. Most of my workers, you know, they are with me since 6 to 20 years. Dave is with me since 20 years. We are like an old couple. And the one who left, without maybe 2 exceptions, but everyone who left, like Guillaume, like some assistant, is because somewhere they started their own business, you know.
Yeah.
So I
Raymond
was happy
recently.
for them, kind of, you know.
Raymond recently, I know who adores you, who speaks very highly of you.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, I have to hats off to I have to give my thanks to your daughter Chloe.
Mhm.
I coordinated with her to make this happen, and I want to give her my thanks. And I love her husband Arnaud. He's a great
Yeah.
guy, and
But I will tell her. I think they tried because they went to Quebec for a little vacation after Christmas, and their plane was delayed, so they missed the connection in Vancouver. So they are sleeping in Vancouver tonight, and they told me that eventually they will try to look at the show tonight. So I don't know if they did, but anyway,
Well,
I will tell her that you said that.
I'll have it posted up by the next couple of days. So
Okay.
we'll reserve a spot to have Chloe back. We'll
yeah,
call it for chapter 2.
Yeah.
And somebody
Yeah, it will
called
be.
out Leanne, who, by the way, Leanne is what a
Liane, yeah.
personality. She's
Liane,
fantastic.
she was with me since ever, you know.
Yeah, she was the first one I think that I ever encountered there. And Nicole, by the way, Nicole's always
Nicole too.
incredible
Yeah.
too.
It's a
Yeah,
different character, different
very
personality,
different, very
but
different. Yes,
both
but
are
both
hey,
beautiful.
wonderful.
hey, Steve, you have a question? Turn your mic on.
Turned it on. Okay.
There you go.
Hello, Stefan. I'm
Hello.
Steve. I have a question. How long have you been a certified organic winery there?
So I'm not certified organic, you know. I was in biodynamic for 6 years, and I stopped for different reasons. But for me, I don't have to be certified. It's as I don't have to put on my label that my wine is mature in barrel.
Okay.
So I don't want to go in this kind of marketing story. First of all, I don't use herbicide. All the weed control is mechanical, etc., etc. But for example, you know, I will be honest with you. If I have an attack of mite somewhere, I will make a surgery spray with even it's a pesticide, but it's super specific just for these pieces that it's very selective, that doesn't kill the good other bugs. Because, for
Right. So
example, when I
sulfur
was in
sprays or copper
biodynamic,
sprays if you have an
yeah, but
actual
just
problem.
it's very,
Yeah.
like I say, surgical, you know, it's really because
Yeah.
I know the grapes who are more sensitive, or you have more traffic, more dust. So I know this corner of the block for a few rows will be attacked. And if you do nothing, eventually that propagate to the rest of the block. So I want to feel free to eventually do that because you have to know, and I'm not critical because I was in biodynamic for 6 years, but sometimes
Yeah. I was always under the impression that your winery was either organic or biodynamic. So
I
you're
was in
doing the
biodynamic,
practices. You're
but
just not.
I am organic without being certified somewhere.
I get you. Yeah.
But
Okay. I understand.
for example, you know, when you use some um, when you're in biodynamic or in organic, you can use so it's like a pesticide. You use some orange oil. It's what you use for the termite, you know. But
Mhm.
sometimes those products are they are from natural stuff because it's but they are so toxic. They kill. They are not selective. They kill all the bugs, the good and the bad one. So it's a debate, you know. But
Yeah.
somewhere I am organic without being certified.
Right. Well, you don't have a
Because
whole lot
again,
of
I
disease
don't want to
pressure
be
in Paso
in a
Robles.
lobby. I don't want to be in a lobby. I don't want to be somewhere. For me, it's natural. I try to have the cleanest approach because somewhere today it's important for me, but it was a beautiful terroir, and when I will be dead, And for the next generation, I want to respect this place, the soil, to fight, to leave it as clean as it was, even better, because you put some compost, some nutrients. Sometimes you need to add some potassium, etc., etc.
Right. So this is all basically is organic
Yeah,
winemaking.
but it's completely
Yes, you
organic.
follow all the practices. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's great because it turns out well in the wine. You know, you end up with a wine that is just nicely made, well made. So
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate the discussion.
Okay, Stephan.
Did you be honest? Ah, sorry.
Go
I
ahead,
wanted
go
to
ahead,
ask him if he understood everything I said.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I
That's
wanted
ironic.
to ask him, I forgot his name, if he understood everything I said tonight.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
tried to.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understood what you were talking about.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
okay. Yeah, you got more or less everything?
Yes, it was excellent, Stefan. Seriously.
Stephan, brilliant. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
It was wonderful meeting you. I'll have to talk. I have to email Chloe and we'll make a trip up there, see if you're around. I understand you don't live here in
I live.
California. You
I have a double life.
yeah, and Jason and I would both love to meet you in person one time. I've seen you around the winery before, but
No, I'm around. When I'm here, I'm every day. I'm around. You know, and
okay.
so let see with Chloe. She will tell you right away because she knows when I'm in Spain or in Paso. So up to mid-May, I am here, kind of.
So
But,
you love Spain, huh?
yeah, yeah. Especially the little village where I live. It's a dream.
What part of Spain, Stefan?
It's on the Catalonia, so north of Barcelona on the Mediterranean coast, a little
Oh,
village.
so you know Montserrat then?
Yeah, yeah. So I love Spanish
Yeah.
wine too. Yeah,
Yeah.
Priorat.
Yeah. That's my
nice,
background.
nice area.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
Hello.
Stefan, thank you.
No,
I
you're welcome.
so much appreciate your joining us. It was really a special night.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know how long that spend normally. This kind of you spend what 1 hour with a winemaker?
Well, that's been since
No, us it's 2 hours.
Yes.
oh no, you might have beat Gary Eberly. You might have got a little longer.
Gary was good too.
I don't know.
He's a
I don't know.
good
I'd have to
Napa
look.
guy.
I'm not going to hold me to it. I don't know. We could have gone a little longer.
No,
But-
the guy from Lynn Colado.
Oh,
Matt,
Matt
Matt
Trevisan.
Trevisan.
Matt, yeah.
Yeah, your neighbor there. Yeah.
So it's funny because I know we were racing together, so I know Matt very well. But Matt, when you meet him the first time, he's very on the back,
Yeah.
not shy. But you see what I mean? He has not. He's the opposite of Eric Jensen. But when you know him, he has a lot to say, and he's very, very competent.
Yes,
Well,
when he
the
gets
opposite of
talking,
Eric
yeah,
Jensen,
he
that's
can't
well
help
said.
it.
But Eric,
He was a great guest,
yeah.
and you were too. And
Oh, thank
that
you.
makes this whole experience special for us, especially our members, and for Jason and I in particular. So, anyways,
you're happy,
thank you
if-
very much, and have a happy New Year.
Yeah, you too, guys, to all
Thank-
of you. And if you're happy, guys, I'm happy too.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I don't know how I stop that.
Au revoir.
Well, you stop on your side and it should be good for me. Okay, guys, have a good evening.